Hello and welcome back to STL Toyota Off-Road. I am Eric, and today I have Stacy Ann on Instagram, what is that? Wandering Star Expeditions?
Yeah, Wandering Star.
Wandering Star, okay. She's an ambassador for Lady Owned Toyota and an admin for Kansas City Toyota,
Mhm.
Kansas City Toyotas, is that it?
Kansas City Toyota Club, yep.
Okay, Toyota Club, all right, cool. So you've got your plate full. It sounds like you're into quite a few things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh boy. Well, right now, I mean, life has kind of become all about Toyotas and off-roading and overlanding. And I mean, really, I couldn't be happier with it.
Yeah.
A few years ago, I had some pretty big, major life changes and needed to find something to, get that spark back for life. I'd already planned on buying a Tacoma and got one. And ever since then, a lot has changed. So it's been one thing after another, good, bad, adventures,
I feel you there.
Yeah.
Now, was there anything that you were watching or any inspiration that you had to go towards a Tacoma or Toyota in general?
We had a second gen Tacoma before.
Okay.
And I mean, it was great. It was capable. It was just a little access cab. So, at the time we had now teenager. And,
Right.
so that's a small spot to try to put, a whole family
Yes.
and camping gear and everything else. So we're like, okay, what do we do? Do we get something that we can all go in? And I was like, I just can't lose the pickup truck. I mean, that's just hands down. Yeah, there's too many useful needs for a truck.
Absolutely.
And, had a lot of family and friends. Oh, you don't need that. Get a 4Runner, get something small, get something better on gas mileage. I'm like, no, I don't want to be one of those people always calling someone needing a truck. I'm going to get the
I
truck.
know what you mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And then from there, let's see, I heard about K-Rocks, Kansas
Okay.
Rocks Recreational Park, and went down there. And that's kind of how everything launched for me in this sport.
Okay, cool. So then your second gen, I guess that was just like a stock pickup, and you
Mhm.
had it just because that was your vehicle, and
Mhm.
then you decided you wanted to do a little bit more.
We just needed more room.
Just need more room.
Yeah.
That's good enough reason as any. I I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, how long ago now did you buy that?
I bought that just a little over 3 years ago.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So was it completely stock when you bought it?
No, I bought it from Adventure Motors. And so they
Oh,
had
okay.
already had some mods done to it. And, I'd looked for over a year before
Okay.
I found one that I wanted that had the features I wanted. I mean, at the time, I wanted a sunroof and I
Yeah.
wanted some of this stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know what these buttons do. Like, crawl control, who needs that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I mean, that's a pretty, reputable company to have bought a vehicle from. I
Mhm.
mean, they're legit in the community.
Yeah.
So what was done to it already?
It had a little bit of a lift. It had some wheel spacers on it. Let's see what's on there. Um, Gosh, I mean, I'm thinking about all the things that were on it. A lot more than I even knew what it was at the time.
Okay.
It had the upgraded, I've got like Fox in the back. I've got
Oh, nice.
Total Chaos up front. I've got, all these things that I really didn't even know what I was really getting into. It just
Okay.
had the features, my comfort features that I wanted. But I
Yeah.
did know that it was going to be capable to do the kind of things that I wanted to do in the future, which was definitely a lot more desert travel, a lot more exploration in Colorado, things like that. I wanted something that was going to be capable to get me to those back off the beaten path places that I knew was going to be dependable. So all of those factors kind of combined into, okay, here, this is the one.
Well, yeah. I mean, it sounds like it was a really nice build from the
Mhm.
get-go.
Yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
very capable vehicle.
Yeah.
So, all right, you've had this for 3 years, and I
Mhm.
mean, I've been looking at your Facebook and your Instagram. So I mean, like you put the front bumper on.
Mhm.
That's a C4, right?
E4. Yep.
Okay, and then you got the bed rack in the back.
Yeah.
So from that product that you bought, I mean, it really didn't need a whole lot, in all honesty.
No.
All right, cool. So what size tires you running?
Let's see, I'm on 33s.
33? Okay, perfect. So I was gonna say like the 35s. That's the only thing I hate about the Tacomas. I'm not saying hate even, but the 35s, you got to cut the shit out of it, and I hate that.
We're headed that way. Don't worry. Don't worry. Give me another couple years, and that's
Yeah,
truck is going to be totally different again. Yeah.
yeah, that's the progression of things, though. And I mean, we've had this conversation with a lot of different people, but back when I was in high school, like if you had a 33-inch tire on a truck, you had a big tire. You're
Yeah.
like, man, that's a big truck.
Yeah.
And now a 33 is small.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
I mean, the new Broncos got 35s on it. The Wranglers have 35s on them out of the factory. And I mean, I don't know where it's going to stop, but I mean, and the shame about a Tacoma is, well, I mean, I guess really any Toyota, I mean, you really got to kind of cut it to get 35s on it,
Mhm.
which I mean, it's really not that big of a deal anymore. You know, hundreds of people have done it, and it's pretty simple. I mean, I've got, my older 4Runner, and it just got 33s on it, but I mean, I cut the crap out of it too. So, but it's fun. So let's see. So you said you knew you wanted to do some Western travel, some just traveling in general.
Mhm.
So where did you start?
So actually, I mean, I started camping with my family before I was even one.
Okay.
So all of our family vacations growing up were road trip style. We would head out into the national forest. We'd head out to BLM land, and really just spend 2 or 3 weeks away from people.
Okay.
And so that's what I grew up doing. That to me is vacation. I mean, we called it camping. I guess now we call it overlanding.
Yeah.
But it's like camping with more expensive toys.
Yes.
And so I just, there's so many places that I went to as a kid that I wanted to get back, and I wanted to be the one in the driver's seat. I wanted to take those trails that, dad wouldn't go down or mom was too afraid to go.
Yeah.
And so it's really just been about bringing people that I care about to those places, because I think there's so many people that miss those opportunities to connect with nature like that. You miss that opportunity to disconnect from your cell phone for 3 or 4 days, worrying about the notifications, who's doing what, what's happening. And there's such a peace of mind for me when I can turn all that off, when I can just be still, sit around a campfire with my family and friends, and just be in that moment. And I want more people to experience that.
I agree. It's a good feeling. And we're all guilty of it. I mean, you're sitting at home, or I mean, even, which is a shame, even at a restaurant, if you have a moment of silence, when you have the moment of silence is when you pick your phone up.
Yeah.
But when you're camping, I mean, I love having no service, but
Mhm.
I have 2 kids, and one I split time with. So if I have my whole family together, I don't want my phone, because my family's together, I have no worries.
Mhm. Yeah.
But when I have my little one with with his mom, and I'm out there in the woods, it's like I do seek the service,
Mhm.
and I guess that part's understandable. But so you have one child, you said?
Yeah, I have a
Nate?
16-year-old. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now he or she?
He.
Okay, cool. So is he into it? Now is okay.
um, yes and no.
Uh
To be quite frank with you, we were in a really bad car accident a few years
oh
ago.
no. Okay.
And, we were T-boned when I was taking him to school. And it's, there's some PTSD there for both of us.
I understand.
So sometimes those trails, the truck gets tippy,
Oh.
when you can see nothing but sky and, hood, that's a little scary. But like the camping aspect, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
he's into that. It's just sometimes the off-roading part of it is a little much, but he's learning how to drive now, and I've been brave enough to let him use my truck
Oh,
a couple
that's so
times.
scary. Yes.
Yeah, he accidentally sent it once, and I'm like, oh my God, like, we're not jumping the truck today. What are you doing? So, there's a learning curve.
So, I mean, so did you bring him up from, from a small child, camping and all that?
Mhm.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So yeah, my son's 14. My oldest one's 14. And I brought him up camping, and he's to the point now where he's too cool to want to do it.
Oh.
And I understand because I mean, like similar to you, is I grew up camping, RV camping though, state parks and stuff like that. So, doing what I'm doing now is a different dynamic. But you get to that age where 14 to maybe even your early 20s, you kind of get out of it, and you're more friend centric. You want to hang out with your friends, and then later on in life you come back to it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, and I'm sure you're kind of the same way, is I don't want to force this on him because I don't want it to not be fun for him.
Right. Yep.
Because if he doesn't have fun, then he may never come back to it.
Yep.
But like my 3-year-old, he loves the camping, but like the off-roading thing. So for a 3-year-old in a car seat, just being beat around back there, like, he doesn't enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, and I completely understand. So I try not to like do any like off-road stuff when it's with him. When it's with him, it's gravel road camping, doing, I guess, overlanding stuff.
I like maintained trails. That's kind of what I think about. Like maintained trails, like Glade Top, some of the national forests. That's the easy camping. Yeah.
So you said Glade Top. I seen some of your crew was down there in Glade Top this weekend, right?
I think we have. I mean, we've got so many people now. I can't even keep track of where everybody's going. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll touch base on that real quick. So you're an actual admin for KC Toyota.
Yeah.
So did you start this group, or are you just like one of the founding members? Okay.
Nope. I was. I don't even know what the right word would be. We were at I don't know if it was a monthly meeting or a midweek meetup, and the admin team that we had then said, hey, if anybody wants to join and help out with stuff, let us know. I love planning events and things like that. So I was like, hey, let me help out. I can plan some stuff. Let's get some community service, things going for the club. And here we are. So yeah, that's how that journey started.
So I was just kind of looking over it a little bit before we came on here. So, I mean, you guys have a pretty big organization at this point.
Yeah, I think 2,500 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a decent amount of people.
Yes.
I seen you got your website. I didn't look at the website, but I seen you had one.
Yeah, we just launched our new one.
Cool. So I mean, what's that? What do you have on there?
Right now, we're still building it. We wanted to get back out and kind of see what the needs are. So we've got, just a couple pictures of the admin's trucks on there. We've got our events linked up. That way people who are not on Facebook know what's going on. Because, and it's just kind of, we want more people to come and join us. We want more people who are interested to, come out, show the support for the community, show, do some trails, do some whatever we do. So we've got the events, we've got our sponsors on there. And then we're going to start adding in like monthly member features. And so just kind of highlight their photos, their builds. We're trying to engage more with the Toyota car community as well.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, we've pretty much been focused on the overlanding, the off-roading, the, modifications, but we want to make this bigger is where we're going.
I really like your organization with it, and where it's going, and how you have it laid out. And I mean, in all honesty, I look at like this and the SMS Overland, and I look at how they're running things, and I use it all for, like a platform to lay out how we see our group going in the future. We're still I guess you say fairly young, and we're trying to use media as our platform to get out. And I mean, I guess that's the way everything is right now, though.
Yeah.
In the podcast, and I found this actually being really fun to do. I didn't realize how fun this was going to be until started it. Yeah, just having these one-on-ones with, well, I mean, with Skype and Zoom, I mean, you can have it with whoever, wherever. It's so
Yeah.
nice. But, it's a good way to get your name out, and it seems we've had good feedback so far. But it's really nice. And then now having you on with another organization and a woman's perspective, which we haven't really even got there yet, but it's fun. So let's see. Now, what kind of events are you guys putting together? I seen you guys have a trunk or treat next weekend.
Yeah, we do. We partnered up with Legends Toyota in Kansas City. And, again, just kind of that first step into getting back into the community service of it. You know, I mean, kids love candy, plain and simple.
I love candy.
Right, everyone loves candy. So, yes, we've got that coming up. I lost my train of thought there.
Events,
yes. So as far as events, we're going to be revamping those a little bit. At the beginning of the year, we were doing midweek meetups, which I think it's still great. I love doing those. But, January, February, I think everybody felt so cooped up after, the disaster of 2020 that we were having really big turnouts. And then, as the season went on and everybody's out doing adventures, by midsummer, it was 5 or 6 of us just driving around the city. So we're looking at doing something different with those. We're also looking at restructuring our events a little bit. So we're going to break them down a little bit further by, these are family friendly events. These are, adults only events. This is going to be the rowdy weekend. This is going to be, easy trails. And so we're really looking at getting more organization just around those so people know what to expect. Yeah. And a lot of that has just come from personal experience, from myself and from other members of the team. We got down to, Disney earlier this year, and we're like, okay, well, who knows the park? I've been here once. So, we don't want to ever put our members, who are our friends and family, in a position where they're going to be damaging their truck. They're going to be having, repair bills. We're going to get people stuck. I mean, we want to do things in a manner that's going to be safe and fun. We don't want anybody leaving at the end of the day being like, well, it was great until this happened. So we're really looking at restructuring as much as possible, bringing that safety element in, bringing people in to actually lead the trails who know where they're going, and things like that.
Yeah, knowing the area is a really big key feature. We actually we broke it down. We actually did a trail meetup, and it's a newer off-road park. It's Pruitt Mountain. Yeah, so we just kind of threw together a group meet. We're like, hey, this weekend we're all getting together. So, in all honesty, it was a very unorganized event, and actually more people showed up than we had expected or anticipated whatsoever. So there was people there with, a straight axle swapped FJ, which was capable of doing anything, and then, a brand new 4Runner that just came off the showroom floor.
Right.
So we're doing these trails, and, the FJ can do anything, and me and the other admin, we're in the middle. We're capable, but, we don't want to do everything. And then the guy with the new 4Runner was kind of left in the back, and I hated it because he ended up leaving early. So he drove all this way down, I don't know, from St. Louis area, so over an hour drive, and he was out there for 15 minutes, and he's like, I'm done. And we're like, that sucks, like, we're really sorry, we didn't expect this many people to show up. So after that, we wanted to sit back and like you said, restructure it. And I haven't launched it yet, but I'm trying to find a cool way to launch it. But we made a list of a 1 through 5. Like a 1 is just a meetup, coffee and donuts. Yeah. And then a 2 is just going to be a maintain gravel road trip. Anybody can do it. And then a 3 is it's still a stock vehicle, but expect scratches, have a little bit of off-road experience. And then a 4 is, have some modifications done, lifted, maybe some body armor, expect damage. We're not gonna, yeah, we don't want anybody to damage,
Right.
but expect it.
Yeah.
And then a 5 is, it is what it is,
Bring the trailer, have one on standby.
Right. So we wanted to from there forward, we want every event we had, we wanted to list the event as a 1, a 2, or 3, and I thought that was a good way to structure it, just so people can have an idea of what they're getting into.
Yeah.
But well, let's see. Let's go into the girls' perspective of all this. Now, with lady-owned Toyotas. Now, that's a nationwide thing.
Oh, it's a worldwide thing.
Worldwide thing. Okay.
We have gone worldwide. We hit that last year. We had some Canada people, just because, it started up in Washington. Jamie Handel, she started it because she was just looking for other women who like to do this. And she had no idea that there would ever be so much interest or so much demand for a really safe place to have the knowledge exchange. I haven't noticed it as much lately, but when I first started looking at different groups, and obviously not either of the groups that, KCTC and, not St. Louis or anything, but there's definitely some groups out there that are very harsh to women. And so having this lady-owned Toyotas has just been a really cool resource to get, unbiased opinion where you're not, for lack of better words, harassed or belittled or put down just for asking simple questions,
Yes.
If you don't know, you don't know. To me, this sport is about educating and, yourself and others about what works and what doesn't, so it's been a really awesome organization to be an ambassador for.
Awesome. So as an ambassador, what is your role?
Mostly to, organize events, coordinate with the other ambassadors, to, find out what's going on. And, surprisingly enough, for a group with over 10,000 women worldwide, there's not a lot of drama. There's more drama. You would think, oh, it's going to be cat fights or no, it's just not, occasionally, we have to, settle some, people who might get out of hand with their comments or, are inappropriate.
Any group though.
Right. Any group, you're going to have that. But yeah, so it's mostly just setting up events and trying to find other women who are into this, because there's definitely been times, I've got my little lady-owned Toyota spotted cards. I remember one time I was at work and this gal pulled up in just this absolutely gorgeous 5th gen 4Runner. She had some decent mods to it, you can tell okay, she might do some stuff. She had a little camper behind her and I was like, hey, nice. I'm Stacy. I'm with Lady-Owned Toyotas. If you ever want to come out and, just meet us, we do these little events, or if you ever want to go off-roading with us. And I mean, she was looking at me like I was from the moon, so, so just trying to find other women who are into it, not necessarily even passionate about it, but just who are interested. And it's hit or miss. It's a lot easier to put a nice rig card on a guy's truck because it'd be like, yeah, she likes my truck. It's
well, yeah.
I mean, okay, great. But I don't know. I guess at this point, especially now, 3 years of pinstripes and some body damage to the truck, people are going to look at it and be like, yeah, I don't know about you, so there's a little bit of that, but it's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, that's cool. And I don't know, maybe it's the area that we're in, but as far as actually participating in events, we really don't have any. We have some in the group that will post time to time, and that's cool. Kayla Hendricks, she's active in the group, and she's all around. She gets around.
Oh, she does. Yeah, I've definitely wheeled with her a few times. Yeah, full sends.
Yeah. I've actually never wheeled with her. I ran into her at Moore last year, but She seems like she's the kind of, the kind of woman you're probably like in the group. Somebody that's really active and somebody that really lives it and does it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I've looked at your Instagram, you live it and you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're out there quite a bit actually, from what it looks like.
Yeah, almost every weekend this summer. My goal was to sleep in a tent every weekend. Didn't quite hit the goal,
nice.
but been pretty close.
Awesome. So you're actually you live in Kansas, right?
Yeah, I'm in like the Overland Park area. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I mean, I guess we kind of just group it all together, but
yeah,
the whole Kansas area. But
yeah.
So where do you go for a weekend trip?
Well, I'm definitely not one to say no to a good long drive.
Okay.
So this year we've done Disney, Oklahoma a few times. Is it that Grand Lake recreation area down there? We've gone to Arkansas a couple times. We did Glade Top earlier this year. We just got back from Rendezvous. Let's see, where else? Kansas Rocks, K-Rocks, we call it. It's a little private off-road park that's a lot of fun. Out towards Manhattan, there's Tuttle Creek, which is it's like I don't know. That's one of my favorite, honestly.
Okay.
It's got everything from this like lake bed area where you can kind of like test things out, see how your truck handles. And then it does go back into some trails and some stuff I definitely wouldn't do with my truck at all. But so I think it's good for people with all different experience levels. Trying to think where else. But there's a lot of lakes and like state parks around here. So sometimes, we just, pack up the truck and head out and sleep outside. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. I try to camp every other weekend. It was my goal, but now that it's getting nice, I've got an issue with my truck and it's been worrying me. So it's one of those kind of deals. So did you ever go camping alone?
I do. I really enjoy solo travel. For me, it's a great time to, just be alone. So I've met a lot of really interesting people that way too.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know. I think sometimes if people see a group camping, they're like, oh, I don't know if I should go up and talk to them. Yeah. But I think sometimes when you're alone, there's more a sense of, depending on where you are, people kind of look out for you. And I think that is one of the unique perspectives of being, I don't know, being a female. Is I know there's a lot of women who are afraid to travel alone. I mean, there's all these, true stories, horror stories about things happening.
Well,
and, I mean, it's all about situational awareness and trusting your gut. At the end of the day, if you pull into a spot and you feel a vibe, you don't stay. I mean, that's it. If someone approaches your campsite that is making you uncomfortable, if you're in a campground with 30 other people, there are definitely things you can do to get attention.
That kind of situation. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of covered what I was getting ready to ask, about, you feeling safe out there, in the woods alone. So, I mean, other than a campground, but being in a national forest out by yourself, I mean, have you ever had any situations, or has it all been pretty good situations?
I've been pretty lucky. I've only really had the one experience where there's a group of rather drunken younger guys who were a little inappropriate. I mean, that was also in my younger days. I think now I'm past the age of, getting kidnapped or anything, so I'm not so worried about it. But, I mean, and also when I go off on, solo adventures, I do take, some personal protection. So.
Amen.
Yeah.
So that's good. I mean, I mean, it happens, but I mean, you see on the news, like the Gabby Petito thing, and you hear about these things, but when you're out there, it's just like you feel like this wouldn't happen to me, and you feel safe out there. And I mean, even when I go solo camping, I mean, I'm out in these national forests where, if they're in a national forest, there's most likely, if there's somebody that's not camping, they're probably hunting.
Yeah.
So if they're hunting, they have a gun, and I mean, 99.9% of the time, it's a good, interaction.
Hmm.
You talk about, hey, did you get anything? Did you see anything? And they're always happy to talk about it.
Hmm.
It's always if they've stopped hunting and they started drinking.
Yeah.
That's always the issue, and that's a shame. So I mean, there's been a few of those instances, where it's not even like, and yeah, I'm sure you've had the same way. It's not even that it's a dangerous interaction, but it's a very annoying interaction.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
like, dude, let me cook dinner, man. Just go away.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes back to being having that capable vehicle too. For me, that's a security feature then in of itself. I try to
Right.
pack pretty light, and I like that situation I was telling you about earlier. That's one where I just packed up my gear and left. It didn't
Yeah.
matter that it
Yeah.
was whatever 11:30 at night. I packed light, packed it up, and I left. I didn't have to worry about something going to happen with this vehicle. Am I going to have to leave anything behind? Is it really that bad?
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, all of that, those are all factors to consider for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wasn't actually there, but the other admin is me and Kyle Gilliam, and there's a few other guys that are pretty tight knit in our group. They were down in the Potosi district of Mark Twain Forest, and they had a really bad interaction down
Mm.
there, and it was during the day. But I mean, I was a drunk guy, on wine, some cheap, probably Boone's Farm wine,
Hmm.
which I'm not dissing Boone's Farm because that was the stuff back in the day. But anyways, he got belligerent drunk, and anyways, he started talking about shooting them. He's like, I got guns in the truck. I'll kill you and whatever. And they had a tent out, they had a grill out, and they had to, well, kind of subdue him and then
Mm.
get the hell out of there. So they left all their camping gear there, and this guy ended up chasing them and shooting at him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this was just a matter of a few months ago, I guess. And the cops got involved and they never caught the guy or seen the guy again, but it's just it's a scary it's a scary thought. And that was a group of guys. There was, three guys, and one of them had his girlfriend there, and there's just one guy that was the asshole. I mean,
Mm.
instead of it's always best to leave. Don't get me wrong, instead of making the wrong decision, remove yourself from the situation.
Hmm. Yeah.
Always best.
Yep.
But like I said, you hear those horror stories, and it's like it doesn't happen to me, but that's an instance that happened to my close friends.
Yeah.
And now you always, you when you're out in the woods all by yourself, you hear these things and you see these things, and your thoughts can take over sometime.
Hmm. Yeah.
Speaking of that, this is a funny question. I actually hear this is I don't know if you can see that.
So, little Sasquatch.
Little Sasquatch, yeah. So have you had any experiences in the woods with what you might have thought?
Um,
This is my
that really is a good question. I
yeah.
have definitely had some. I really don't even know how you would describe. So when we were kids, we were camping up in Montana. It was my mom, my dad, my brother, and me. And I mean, we just, we were sleeping in we had a Ford Bronco, or my dad had a Ford Bronco too. We were little, we had a little, Coleman little dome tent, had like a hay colored, cover on it or whatnot. And something was going on, and none of us had the bravery to leave the tent. It was like 2:00 in the morning. We all started having like you could hear stuff happening outside, like you can, something's out there that shouldn't be, because we're in the middle of like nowhere, Montana, like
Right.
back, there's like some cows that were maybe like 10 miles down the road, but like nothing that should, be there at 2 a.m. So,
Right.
we never really figured out what was happening, but there's definitely been more than a few times out and about where things just don't seem right. And I think there's a part of your brain that like, I want it to be Sasquatch. Like, I would
Yes.
love to be like, yes, I'm the one that found Bigfoot.
Yes.
But then there's also that reality is like, is this a bear? are we about to get attacked by a bear? What's about to happen? So, there's been a few of those times where where things just don't quite add up, but I don't really know what it is.
I know exactly what you
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
It's
Now, if I have a few drinks, it's 100% definitely Sasquatch, no matter what the situation.
I have a Sasquatch tattoo just because I love the mythology of it. I think I think it's a neat, I don't know, neat thing, because I'm not saying I don't not believe. I think it's people are seeing something.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're seeing. They're seeing something though. But yeah, I mean, I've had a few, experiences where it's not explainable.
Yeah.
In the moment, and then maybe there is a something that can't explain it, but when you're alone in the woods by yourself and nobody around, well, your mind starts to wonder.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see here. Your IG page, your Instagram here. So, I mean, I've seen you take a lot of photos, a lot of different places. Now, how did your Instagram play along with your journey into all this? Because I know mine kind of coincides. Is why I ask.
So this is kind of the funny thing about all of this is I am typically a pretty reserved person. I'm not a really public person.
Okay.
I'm not out there to get 10,000 followers and, everybody look and see what I'm doing. I actually have a private Instagram that's just for like family and close friends.
Yeah, perfect.
And then once that started getting, once I had that linked up, I realized that was too many people having access to me. Like I said at the beginning, I had a lot of big things changing in my life at that point. My personal Instagram is still very personal. So it's a lot of my like musings and thoughts and just, things like that. And I just didn't feel like people needed access to me like that. So I started the Wandering Star Expeditions, which is, kind of a tribute to my family. And so that's kind of how my journey into Instagram started. I don't know. It's fun for me, I guess, to share these places and it's just fun to share with people, I guess, because I want people to see that, yes, you can do this. You can start your life over in your mid-30s. You can do these things that you never thought you could do. You can go to places that you've never been. You can do them by yourself. You can do them with a group of people. So really for me, it's more just kind of showing people that you can do it, because there's a lot of women, especially that I talk to, that, like, I can't believe you do this. I can't believe you do this. It makes me happy,
Yeah.
There's a lot of, what is it? I think there's been enough people in my life that I think said that I couldn't or I shouldn't. But I'm stubborn. So I'm like, I can, and I will. So I guess I just want other people to see that.
Okay, well, that's noble enough. Yeah, I mean, so, and what do you mean, like, when they say you couldn't? I mean, are you talking about like go forward with your achievements that you've made so far with being a part of these different groups, and I mean achieving and I mean putting your group further and you further, and your truck, I mean it kind of all plays out, but I mean,
yeah,
is that kind of what you're getting at there?
A little bit. I mean, I think that's kind of part of it. It's not just like one single thing. If my journey can help the group grow, that's great. One of our requirements as an ambassador for Lady on Toyotas is to post weekly, because obviously we want that to grow
nice.
as well. But yeah, I do try to post, I guess, kind of frequently these days. But I mean, there's even with, excuse me, love my dad dearly. He's obviously one that got me into having this kind of adventurous spirit,
Right.
But it makes him worried, and so part of it too is I don't want people to worry about me. So I feel like when I'm posting these things, you know, after a weekend out or something, they can see, okay, you know, she did okay. The truck did fine. She's unscathed, you know, the
Okay.
truck is mostly unscathed, you know, whatever it can be. Um, so I guess there's a little piece of that as well.
Okay. I'm with you on that. So, uh, now are you into backpacking or anything else that goes along with this, or is it pretty much like the overland style?
You know, funnily enough, a couple years ago, so I was married. My husband did pass away.
Oh,
But we realized that we were like glampers. And, you know, we were using a 4Runner at the time, had like a cargo top carrier on it. You know, we had like this 8-person tent for 3 of us, you know, and just like, these huge chairs from Costco that are like zero gravity chairs, and just like all this
those are
crap. I mean, they're super comfortable. I regret sometimes I regret getting rid of it now. But we were out in Colorado, on this just beautiful mountaintop, and I'm looking around at all this crap that we had that we felt like we needed to make camp. And it occurred to me that this is too much. You know,
Okay.
it's 3 of us. We don't need to bring enough stuff for like 10 people on these trips. So we had started paring down and going to smaller backpacking tents and gear and stuff like that, with the plan eventually to get into backpacking. I would really love to hike the Appalachian Trail sometime.
My gosh. Yes.
I mean, these are things that I want to do. So I've had to take like a really serious look at my health though, to get me back to the point where I can do that. So there's a lot of little factors that play into it, because I don't want to be the person that you find dead on the trail because they didn't have the right supplies, or they were exhausted or out of water, things like that. So it's a slow process. So hopefully in the next, you know, 5 or 6 years, that'll be an accomplished goal. But for right now, it's still on the list of things to do.
So, like I said, I know I grew up camping, and I've done a lot of, you know, camping my entire life. The overlanding didn't come into play later, but before I got my 4Runner, well, you know, I had a rough spot in my life as well, you know, a real rough spot. And, you know, I feel like a lot of people, it's not just us, but a lot of people find peace in nature when you start to have a rough spot.
Yeah.
So, you know, you start watching YouTube, and, you know, you might find a backpacking channel. You're like, well, that looks interesting. So anyways, I started backpacking, just a one night and 2 night backpacking trips. And I'm like, it kind of changed everything for me. And then, I went to, Smoky Mountain National Park. I bought my first good camera, and then I started, you know, hiking all these trails, and, you know, well, in the Appalachian Mountains, not backpacking, just, you know, day hikes while I was down there. And I was like, I was in awe of how amazing it was. And I was seeing it with new eyes on top of being down there anyways. So everything had a double meaning to me. And then, you know, I'm taking these pictures, and then I thought the pictures were great. And then I started getting, you know, like, you start putting them on Facebook and Instagram, and then you get the feedback from them, and they're like, wow, you're really good at taking pictures. So then it moved to photography was kind of motivating me to do more. So, because photography made me really happy. Well, I got a camera tattoo also. So I really went down that avenue. And then, you know, I'm watching some YouTube, and then Lifestyle Overland actually inspired me to get a 4Runner. Now I have a 3rd gen, but a 4Runner in general, you know. So they're kind of not the reason I got into overlanding, but they're the reason maybe I picked my specific vehicle. And then it was over from there, because, you know, the backpacking was gave me the, you know, ability to get out into the woods further and see things that not a lot of people get to see.
Yeah.
You know, and then you kind of graduate into a vehicle, you know, and then like now you can carry more stuff with you, obviously. and go for farther trips and longer trips, but you're still able to go see things that a
Mhm.
lot of people don't get to go see.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a really cool freedom about that.
Yes.
Absolutely. Just, I mean, and that's why sometimes I'm hesitant, especially on social media, to say where I actually am when I'm actually there, because there's definitely a sense of, like, I have my spots that I know I go to out west, and I maybe it's selfish, maybe it's not, but I don't want to tell the whole world, hey, here's this really cool spot. And and it's just that kind of goes into that leave no trace, because
Yes.
there's people who don't respect, nature, I think, as much as I do, or a lot of other people do. And they leave their crap and like that, so then I spend my time, which should be my relaxation, feet by the fire, making a
Yeah.
s'mores time, cleaning up. And I don't mind doing that. If I see stuff on the trail, it doesn't matter if it's at a park or on a trail, I'll throw it in the back of the truck, no big deal. But that education piece of what that really means to leave a place better than you found it.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Girl Scouts, from the time I was kindergarten until I was a senior in high school. And so that, you leave things better than you found it. That's always been with me. So I don't understand that mentality of ditch your tent, leave all your beer cans, chuck shit out your window when you're driving down the highway. I don't
Yeah.
get that.
You know, I don't, I have a YouTube video waiting in the archives to put out, but I was talking about, well, the same area I was just talking about down at Palmer, the Potosi area, Potosi Mark Twain Forest area. When I was younger, I used to go down there on my four-wheelers and, I mean, just run the shit out of it, and I was that guy. I really was. I didn't really have respect for what I was able to enjoy. And now I was down there. This was Labor Day weekend when I was down there, actually. And it was a solo trip, just me by myself. And I'm driving around, and the National Forest Service actually just went in there very recently and closed down a bunch of trails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of heartbreaking because, you know, in all honesty, I guess you could say that I contributed to that years ago, that, the downfall of it. And I didn't realize the consequences when I was younger
Right.
of my actions. And, but I've learned from that. So, like you said, you go to a campsite, you try to pick up what you can, do something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, we're not asking anybody to go clean up the whole park, but pick up what's in your immediate area. Pick up something.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, I have a rule when I go. I like to take families and kids out camping. And the rule that I have is, before we leave the campsite, you pick up one piece of trash for every year old you are. And
okay.
it is amazing to watch those. I mean, they think it's part of camping. They think that's what everybody does, But you watch them, go around and get a little paper towel and just pick up little pieces of trash. And it's, I mean, such an easy thing to do. Easy.
Yeah. That's actually a really cool thing to instill, as being part of the camping trip. It's I do like that because I mean, even my 3-year-old, it's more about having fun, and then after camp, I'm going around while he's, still throwing rocks. I'm picking up everything, but I think I might try to incorporate that and actually make it where it's every bit as part of the camping trip as
Mm-hmm.
packing up the tent is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a really good idea. I like that. So, with Kansas City Toyota, do you guys have any like trail cleanups that you've done or do?
I There was one we were supposed to do, I want to say back in April, but I think it got canceled. So that is definitely something that I want to get back involved in, and hopefully link up with some other groups to do it. I mean, this community is so awesome that we have, I think, in the Midwest. I mean, I hope
Yeah.
other regions have as much fun as we do. But yeah, I would absolutely love to get down into the national forest, clear some trails that need to be cleared, or cut
Yes.
back, clean up, whatever we can do. Um, because I, just like you said, I want to be able to protect the places that we love and be able to keep going back there, because
Yeah.
there's going to be a tipping point at some point. Just like you said, more and more places are going to get closed down to due to use. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Missouri is, I mean, I know you're in Canada, but Missouri has quite a bit to offer
Hmm.
as far as, the national parks
Oh
or
yeah.
national forest. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not near as much as out west. So the trails in the areas that we do have open to us, I mean, it's very critical that we keep
Hmm.
everything that's available to us open,
Hmm. Yeah.
and um, I mean, I've said it before, and which is a shame, and I like them, but I don't have one personally, but side by sides.
Oh boy, are we going there?
Uh, well, I mean, I guess you know what I'm talking about already then.
I will say this. I think I'm disappointed in a lot of side by side owners, especially when we are clearly in a group going down trails and they want to cut off our groups, chuck beer bottles out, coolers bouncing all over the place,
Yes.
crap breaking everywhere. They're flipping them, and to me, like when they were talking about closing down Moab, 100% close it down for them. Done with it, over it.
Yeah.
You know, and I know there's people that are in the Toyota and Jeep communities that do the same thing. But when I think of like going to Disney and stuff like that, I see stuff that it just really rubs me the wrong way. And obviously, it's not all side by side
No,
drivers,
absolutely.
owners, and so that's why I hate to say it, but like as a community, I guess, or a group of people that do that, I really feel like the side by siders, just because your vehicle can doesn't mean you should. Don't cut out a new trail just because you couldn't get over something, and
Yeah, that's a small aspect of it even. Yeah.
yeah, and so it does suck sometimes with those, I don't know. I could rant on that, but we're not here for that.
Well, the off-road parks, that's what they're there for, to go nuts and to go crazy. And I mean, I'm not saying that you should trash anything, but I mean, at least at an off-road park, it's not something public that's going to get shut down. And I guess you're paying to go there, so I admit that might have been the wrong thing to go. I mean, I like side by sides; they're fun. They are
Oh,
fun.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And I was actually talking to Christopher Bopp just the other day
Mhm.
about side by sides, and us as a Toyota group, or even Jeeps as a Jeep group, when you come across a group in a national forest land, or someplace public, we aren't going 80 miles an hour down the trail either. We are just cruising along, you know, usually well below this, even if there's a speed limit, we're probably going underneath the speed limit. Uh, but the side by sides, no matter where they're going 80 miles an hour, and they're cutting the trails. They're
Mhm.
they're they're leaving ruts, and not even the trash aspect. They're just tearing the trail up itself.
Mhm.
And I do completely understand that that's a blast. That's fun to do. But these national forest lands aren't for that.
No, not at all.
So there's a time and a place. And like I said, I guess this kind of comes across as a negative, we're talking negative about side by sides, but they are fun, but just be respectful.
Mhm.
That's pretty much
Yeah.
it. And I mean, almost every side by side guy you run into out there, they're usually drinking a beer, and I'm not even against that, because I mean, there's people in our group that'll drink a beer and cruise around, but nobody's being an idiot.
Mhm.
I try not to. Well, I don't try. I don't drink if I'm doing like off-road stuff anymore. I know myself. If I have a few beers in me, I'm gonna break something. So I just don't do it. That's for camp now.
Yeah, yeah. It feels better at the end of the day to just kick back and
Yeah.
yeah, and think about it. But and you kind of made a good point with the private parks and the versus public lands. And we went down after Rendezvous. We swung by Rush Springs, and I was looking at pictures this morning. The difference between the trails in, I don't even remember the first time we went down, in the spring to now are drastically different. I mean, we came across one point, filming where we're going and whatnot, and it's like, this place is torn up. I mean, absolutely torn up. And what that does is in my mind, it limits being able to bring newer people out to these places. Because if you've got a fully stocked rig, you're new to off-roading, you want to see what your vehicle can do. If I take you to some place that I think is going to be good for you, but 6 months later, these, people who are driving crazy, no matter what they're driving crazy, they're driving aggressively, you kick rocks out, you're making ruts, you're moving stuff out of the way, you're putting stuff in. It changes the dynamic for everyone. And I think that that's something, no matter what you drive, you have to be aware of. If you're driving through mud pits, you're going to make them worse. If you're, all these little things there has to be, in my mind, some level of responsibility of what I'm doing today is going to affect me in the future. It's going to affect thousands of other people in the future as well.
That's a very, very hard dynamic to get across, though. Because, and I mean, I can't say that I'm 100% conscious of that all the time, either.
Right.
You get out someplace, and if you're with a group of guys, and you're like, "Hey, I think I can climb that," and then you're like, "Huh, yeah, I could probably climb that," and you're living right there at that moment. You're not actually. I find it hard to think about what my actions are going to do tomorrow.
Right.
And so that's a very good thing to try to instill in people. And I mean, even if you can't instill it into another, a fellow off-roader, at least instill it into our children,
Yeah.
That's very good. I like that. Well, I mean, we've almost been on here an hour already. It doesn't actually seem like it.
Time flies.
Yeah, it does. Well, actually, I mean, I think we've covered just about everything. Well, you know what? Let's talk about Rendezvous real quick. I missed out on Rendezvous. So how was Rendezvous?
Mudfest 2021.
Yes.
I'm sure you saw my pictures at the end of it.
Yes.
That was not intentional, but I mean, Rendezvous was a blast. That was my first one. I know this was their 5th year. But yeah, this was my first opportunity to go, and I've got to give a huge shout out to one of my fellow Lady on Toyota ambassadors who just happened to win a ticket. And she was like, "Hey, I already bought one. Anybody want one?" I'm like, "Oh, I do." Okay. But it was really cool to see all the vendors out there for sure, and just to see so many different vehicles and setups and talk to different people from all over the area.
Yes.
And we were lucky enough, Lady on Toyotas did a small female-only trail. We did a little, and since none of us, we kind of talked on this earlier, since none of us knew the area, we called it group exploration, because we really truly didn't know. You can look at maps, you can talk, and you can get recommendations, you can get as much information as possible to begin with. But at the end of the day, that was an exploration. None of us had been down this place before. I think we had 6 or 7, maybe more, vehicles with us on that run, and it was a blast. It was really cool to just see how many people are into this, whether it be the overlanding aspect or it be the off-roading or whatever it is aspect. It's really cool to see such a large group of people enjoying the same thing. I mean, it was just, I don't know, I'm kind of an overly sentimental person from time to time. But just to be able to kick back and just watch it all was a really cool experience.
So I guess it was well, I mean, it was raining there obviously, but it was gloomy there most of the time, I imagine.
I think it pretty much was. I don't know, I wasn't paying attention to the sky so much.
So last year was my first year, and it took me and my older son, I guess he was 13 at the time, and my God, that was one of the neatest experiences I may have ever had. That was just that where Birds is at, down in that valley. It is so beautiful, gosh, it was so beautiful. The
Yeah.
leaves were changing this time of
Mhm.
year. And the days were nice and warm. It was t-shirt weather. And then at night, I mean, it got down to, I don't know, probably 40 degrees at night last year. It was cold.
Yeah.
You know, it's got the airport there. I don't know if you had any planes coming in, but we had these overlanding planes coming in.
Yeah.
Like it was just like such a picturesque thing, you know. And like you said, I like to look at license plates. I like
Mm.
to see where everybody's at, you know. And there was a majority of the states right there in
Mhm.
Arkansas, you know, all came together, and just the different dynamic of vehicles from, I mean, uh, big vans and older Suburbans, and obviously
Mhm.
your rigged out Toyotas and Jeeps and dream vehicles that I'll
Mhm.
never ever ever be able to afford, but it's cool looking at them, you know, and just the people that you meet and the conversations you're able to have
Mhm.
is is one of my favorite things, to be able I guess networking would be what you would call it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But and I'm not trying to sell anything, you know. I just like
Yeah.
talking to people, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, we like you're part of several different groups, and I'm a part of a
Mhm.
group, you know, so that always comes up in conversation. But you know, chances are, if you're at that kind of thing, they're probably part of some kind of group as well.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. But and that's one of my favorite things about any type of event like this, or even just camping trips, by myself, with other groups, whatever, is that chance to sit back and tell stories and hear stories. I I'm a sucker for a good adventure story. Like I want to hear, what did you do?
Yeah.
How did you do this? Where did you go? Like I like listening. I like observing. So yeah, it's a cool thing.
Well, like this is nice too, because you're still in the Midwest, and you're
Mhm.
still, like this isn't relatively all that far from us, from this side of the state. But it's nice to be able to have talk to people from different areas is what I
Mhm.
really do like.
Mhm.
I mean, you can talk to locals. I mean, you can live in the same town all your life and not know somebody else was into the exact same thing you're into.
Yeah.
And in the woods, you're like, hey, where do you live? I'm like, over on Second Street. You're like, what? I'm on Third Street. And but I don't know. I really enjoy the people you meet. Like you said,
Yeah.
out in the woods even, or in here, it's really cool. That's probably my favorite part of all this. And I mean, it wouldn't matter what kind of vehicle I drove. It's
Right.
it's
Hey, I used to do
uh,
this in a Honda Civic Hybrid, so
oh,
trust
there you
me.
go.
Yeah.
So I seen you towing a Gen Forerunner as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the story on that?
One of our other admins, a good friend of mine, Chris Cox,
Okay.
he has an obsession with buying Forerunners. So that's not the first time I've, trailered something for him. Well, I should say buy and break and fix and starts the whole cycle over. So he had a guy in Fayetteville he was buying that for or from. So yeah, loaded it up on the truck there, and that is one thing that I do get some negative feedback on from people, and I feel like it's internet trolls like, "What are you doing, girl?" Like, don't worry about it. Like, my truck is 100% capable of towing that Forerunner. Like,
That's a load for it though, isn't it?
it is. This one is, was missing quite a few pieces,
Okay.
under the hood region, so it was not as heavy as it looked.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely times towing that. I mean, it's about being smart. If I know I'm not
Oh
going to keep
yeah.
up with the pace of traffic, I'm putting my blinkers on. I'm driving in the slow lane. I'm not, doing anything
Yeah.
stupid. I'm not gunning it. I'm not flooring it. Not driving like I normally do. There's other considerations. It's about knowing what it is. So before we left, did a once over on the truck. Everything's looking fine,
Yeah.
got the alignment, got the oil changed, got, preventative maintenance done. Got home after cleaning mud off my truck for 4 days, it's like, all right.
Couple extra 100 pounds of mud too.
Oh my gosh, I can't. That was a lot of mud. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I want this vehicle to last,
Yeah.
and sometimes people will say, well, do you know what you're doing? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I think people underestimate how much I love this truck. you know, and that's not to be in like a weird way or anything, but like, I mean, that gets me to the places where I want to go. I'm not going to put myself, I'm not going to put my passengers, I'm not going to put my truck in a situation that's going to be bad in the end. And if it does, Chris, you're going to fix it.
Smart.
So yeah, you know, I mean, it's just.
Well, you just said you know what you're doing, but I mean, even if you don't, you're going to learn from that mistake, and you're not going to do it again next time.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So I follow Chris on Facebook as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now he looks like he's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Get a little rowdy.
So he's got a 4th gen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he looks like he's had some probably self-made issues lately.
No comment.
Perfect. That's good enough. But my issues that I'm having right now are well, some of them are of my own doing, so you know how that is. Well, all right. You know what? I think we've covered plenty, and this was actually a really nice, easy conversation.
Yeah.
It flowed really well, and we covered a lot, and I'm sure there's still a lot more we very well could possibly cover.
I'm sure we'll hit some campfires together. I'm sure.
Absolutely. I want to do this around a campfire, because around campfire conversations, they get weird sometimes.
That is true.
And weird is good. Well, all right. I think we're good.
Okay. Eric, this was fun.
It was very fun. Maybe in the future we'll do this again if we don't meet around a campfire somewhere.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on, and you have a good Sunday.
All right. You too, Eric. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right.